Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Building an Effective Project Team. My name is Alexandra Chofi, Director of Marketing for Operations Strategy Consulting. A big part of running a successful continuous improvement project, or any other project for that matter, is having the right people on your team. While it sounds obvious, too many times we've seen projects falter and stall because it was the wrong team for the project. Learn the critical guidelines to building successful project teams. This webinar will show you the pitfalls to avoid to ensure your team is effective, consistent, focused, and organized. Presenting today's webinar will be Sarah Gonkas, Director of Training and Development for Operations Strategy. She focuses on helping clients improve their processes and achieve operational excellence. Prior to joining Operations Strategy, Sarah worked as a quality assurance engineer for Lockheed Martin at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. While there, Sarah participated on several Lean and Six Sigma project teams that resulted in significant time and cost savings for both the contract and the customer. Sarah holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering from the University of Pittsburgh, is a certified Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, and an RAB QSA certified QMS internal auditor, and a certified AIAG ISO TS 16949 auditor. Before we get started, we would like you to know that you can submit any questions you have for us in the comment box. Sarah, we will now turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Allie. When you're building a team for a continuous improvement event, there are several questions that may arise. What are the roles and responsibilities of different team members, and who should best fill these roles? How big should a team be, or how small? What things should we avoid when we're trying to put together the best team for a continuous improvement event or initiative? These are some of the things that we're going to talk about in the next couple minutes. So who should be on your team? What roles need to be filled in order to have a successful continuous improvement team? You need a project champion, a project leader, several process owners, and possibly stakeholders as well. All of these are different roles that are essential to creating the best continuous improvement team. The first role that we're going to discuss is the champion. A great continuous improvement team is going to have a great champion standing behind it. The champion is going to play an upper level or advisory role for the improvement team throughout the course of the project. From the kickoff meeting to the wrap-up meeting, the champion is going to not only advise the team, but also represent the team and advocate for the team at upper levels of the organization. A champion may also aid the team in overcoming challenges or hurdles. A lot of times, this comes in the form of diplomatic negotiations between departments. Champions are also often responsible for securing funds for the project or the improvement initiative. When it comes to the time commitment, a champion is generally required to attend the kickoff and wrap-up meetings. They can be more involved in ongoing meetings if they want, but it's not necessarily required. A word of caution from personal experience. Occasionally I've seen champions that want to be very hands-on, and this can be a great asset for your project if your team works well and is comfortable around the champion. Sometimes it seems, however, that the rest of the team may be uncomfortable or intimidated because the champion is a high-level executive or manager, and it may restrict the positive flow of ideas during brain sessions and all around decrease the productivity of your team. You want to avoid that. So when you're picking a champion, you want to keep in mind that you want them to be able to mesh and work well with the rest of the team that you're going to pick. If you run into a situation like that, where you have a champion that is intimidating the rest of your group, you may want to have the team lead invite the champion only to the meetings where he or she is required to attend, like the kickoff and the wrap-up meetings. That way the champion is involved, that they're kept abreast of the project status without inhibiting the improvement process and intimidating the rest of the team. So who should be the champion? Some of the qualities of a good champion include, first of all, the strong belief in the continuous improvement methodologies that you're working with. Clearly, you're going to want the person representing and advocating for your initiative to believe in the continuous improvement initiative. You're also going to need them to be willing and able to represent and advocate for you. So you're going to want somebody who's comfortable standing up in front of a room of executives and explaining how this continuous improvement event or initiative is going to help your company. You want this person to be the face of your project. They will be the person that represents your initiative at all levels of the company. The next role that we're going to talk about is the project leader. The main responsibility of the project leader is to coordinate the project or initiative. This includes, but is not limited to, tracking project deliverables as well as progress reports, delivering these reports and deliverables to the project champion and anybody else in the corporation who needs to know or be appraised of the progress of the initiative. They're also going to provide team members with guidance and leadership on a day-to-day basis. The champion provides more leadership or counsel at a broad, high-level perspective, where the project leader is going to be there every day with the team members, giving them guidance and leadership on a day-to-day basis. The project leader is also going to participate as a member of the continuous improvement team. He's going to help brainstorm ideas and root causes. The project leader is also going to act as a member of the team. So who should the project leader be? Well, you're going to want to pick somebody that has some of these qualities. Again, you want somebody who's going to believe in the continuous improvement methodology. You want somebody who has a good working relationship with other team members. If you have someone who can't work in a team, they're not going to make a good project leader. You also want somebody who's capable of multitasking. The greatest leaders need to be able to understand what each member of the team is working on and manage that work all at the same time. Finally, you need to find somebody that has good communication skills. Your project leader is going to communicate not only with your team members and your champion, but also with the rest of the organization. They're going to be one of the people that represents your continuous improvement initiative at all levels of the organization. So the next role that we're going to discuss is process owners. What are process owners? Well, process owners may be one of the most important members of your team because they're the people that actually do the work. They're the ones that work on the processes that we want to improve. They're our process experts, and no one understands how the process works better than the process owners. And because of this, they are vital to our improvement teams. So who should represent your process owners on the team? Well, you're going to want between 2 and 4 people who work on or with the process that you want to improve. You want to include both new and experienced employees, and there are a couple reasons for that. You want to make sure you have the seasoned workers or the experienced employees because they have a lot of perspective. They have a lot of expertise on what they've been doing because they've been doing it for a very long time. They know more about what's going on and what's happened in the company for the past 40 years than anybody else. And you want to utilize that experience, so you want them on the team. However, you may also want some newer employees that work with that process. Maybe these new people will be better able to ask questions and think outside the box and not be dragged down by believing that because it's been done this way for the last 20 years, that must be the only way that it can be done. So when you're picking your process owners, you don't want them all to be experienced employees or all to be new employees, but you want a good mix of the two so that they can balance each other out and you can improve the process by utilizing the experienced knowledge and the new perspective. When you're looking at who should represent your process owners, you also want to find people that are motivated. Clearly, you're not going to want somebody on your team who doesn't want to be there or who's not excited about improving the process. You're also going to want to make sure that the people that you're picking to represent your process owners are team players. If the only reason they're there is to get something to put on their resume or on their progress report, then this is probably not somebody you want on your team. You want people who are there to work together and improve the process so that you can make the best products that you possibly can. The last team role that we're going to discuss today is stakeholders. Now, of the 4 roles that we're discussing, stakeholders are the one that could be considered most optional of the 4. If, for example, you have many process owners and your team has already gotten very large, you may not need to involve stakeholders. A stakeholder is anyone that holds a stake or an interest in the project that you're working on. So an example of an internal stakeholder may be a person from another department. If you were trying to improve the corporate reimbursement program, an example of an internal stakeholder may be a member of the finance department who uses the reimbursement program. They would have a stake in how that process works and how it's improved. Another example of a stakeholder that would be internal that you may want to have on your process team is a person or group of people that either perform the next step in the process or the previous step in the process. So if you are trying to improve one particular subset or one small process that is in a bigger process, including the people who provide inputs to your process or who use the outputs of your process will be able to give you a better perspective on how best to improve your process by taking into account how it works together within the rest of the organization. The second type of stakeholders are external stakeholders. They are either represented by customers of the process that are external to the organization or perhaps investors. Now, you always want to be cautious before including external stakeholders on your process improvement teams. I have seen situations where an organization will have a Kaizen event or some sort of improvement process or project and exclude customers in the initial project phases. And then once improvements have been made and the process has already begun to take a better shape, then they will start to include their customers. This may be done so they don't air dirty laundry to their customers, but it's also a way to show your customers that you really mean business about improving your process and improving your organization. And by waiting to include them until you've already made some progress, you are showing them, hey, we have a track record. We really believe in this improvement and we're going to continue to do it and make the best products that we can for you. So it's good to include your customers, but you want to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. First, you have a good commitment to the continuous improvement initiative and your customers are going to be happy with what they see. Once you are able to include your customers, you may be able to improve your processes even further and make your customers even more happy by taking into account their perspective when you are considering process improvement. So finally, how big should your team be? And the answer to this question is it should be as big as it needs to be. At which point you say to me, well, that doesn't really help me much. So I'll give you a rule of thumb. Ideally, you'll want between 5 and 8 members. But when I say it needs to be as big as it needs to be, what you need to do is look at the 4 roles that we've discussed. Look at who your project champion should be, who your project leader should be. I have seen successful Kaizen projects run by co-leaders. They were co-project leaders, and it went marvelously. How many process owners are you going to have in your team? If you have 4 process owners who really need to be involved with the team, then you're going to end up having more than 5 members. Now, we say 5 to 8, and again, that's a rule of thumb, it's a ballpark. But we definitely do not want more than 10 people. Essentially, if you have less than 5 people on your team, you probably have not covered all your bases. You probably don't have adequate people representing each of the roles that are necessary. If you have more than 10, even if those are the right people, it's incredibly hard to communicate and make decisions in a group that's larger than 8. So that's why we say between 5 and 8 is your rule of thumb. That is approximately how big your team should be. In summary, we've discussed the 4 roles of team members in a continuous improvement team. First, the project champion, then the project leaders, process owners, stakeholders, both internal and external, and finally, we discussed the appropriate size of a continuous improvement team. This concludes the presentation. Thank you.